Hey everybody, it's us, the Hoopses. We're telling a story. This one, it's the beginning of Advent. So 1, happy Thanksgiving. 2, hey, it's Advent. Awesome. And Advent begins with some prophecy. And in this one, we got a great one. We got Jesus talking about this day when there will be darkness, when the stars will fall from heaven. So, we'll show you a little version of that as we heard it, and then we'll reflect on that a little bit. But yeah, go team.
Go team. Go team.
But in those days, after that suffering, the sun will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. And the stars will be falling from heaven. And the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory, and he will send out the angels, gather his elect from the 4 winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender and put forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Beware. Keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It's like a man going on a journey when he leaves home and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on watch. Therefore, keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening or at midnight or at cockcrow or at dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake. Wow, what a story, right? Man, it could seem so scary, but I think that's kind of the idea here, is that when the world changes, when we go from this time to the next time, this full revealing of God's kingdom and promise, we know that the world's going to change, and that change can be scary. So will it happen just like that? Maybe, I don't know, but it is something to think about of what it means that when the world is scary, when things are changing, they're going from this one way of being to another way of being, and that can feel very jarring. It can be scary. It could be like the world's turned upside down, like the world no longer stays still, right? That it'll shake. The world changes. And that's kind of what Advent is about, is that we are preparing for the world to change, remembering that there was a time when all of God's people were waiting for God to show up, for Messiah, for the Son of God, for the Son of Man to reveal himself. And in that time, the prophecies would say, these people, they were drinking their tears by the bowlful. When will you come down? And when God shows up in Jesus, it's in such a strange way that they didn't expect. Advent is about this time of waiting and preparation for a big change. That when Jesus shows up, everything changes, and change can be scary. We're living in the midst of a lot of change right now. A lot of strange things that make the world seem so less stable. But one thing to remember is that this story, however scary it is, our story, however scary it can be, the worst thing is not the last thing. The worst thing that can happen to you, to the world, is not the last thing, because we have the promise of Jesus. Jesus is showing up. When our hearts break, God doesn't stay far away, but comes down into the world. And we celebrate that at the end of Advent and Christmas, where God shows up in a strange way to be with us. God shows up like us as a baby. Cool stuff. The worst thing is never the last thing. So in this time, yes, there are things that are very challenging, things that break our heart, that scare us. This is a change. Change is hard, but it's so that something new can be made. Resurrection only happens to dead things. Resurrection, new life, it's new, it's a change, it's a rebirth. And know that in the midst of this season, we are praying for the world to change. We are praying that Jesus would show up and usher in this reign of love and mercy and forgiveness, of kindness, of peace. So this season, that's what we're doing. That's the beginning of Advent. We're waiting in anticipation for the world to change. How can you be a part of that change? What's a way that you can look at this season, and in the midst of the changes that are happening, how do you live as a light in the darkness? Because in Advent, we light these candles, right? Advent begins in darkness. It's kind of gloomy out. Kind of appropriate in this season that it's very dark, that it gets dark early, because we're to remember, even though it's dark, we are to be a light. This is part of a change, but bringing light into the world. How can you, in the midst of challenging times, changing times, be light, be life, be healing, be hope? Because I bet you can think of it. That's a great way to celebrate Advent, is preparing for this new bright future by being it now, shining light in the darkness. I know you can do it. Bye, guys.